Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Rose.
And I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to our reaction and review for The Handmaid's Tale Season 6, Episode 7. Finally, it feels like we are on the cusp of a plan. I think a lot of us have been waiting all season to kind of be like, okay, when are we actually going to see the move made against the Commanders? When are our heroes going to get a win? Fingers crossed, because this could go really, really badly. But it feels like we are almost there.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a little while now, but the idea that now that Jezebel's is gone, shut down, and we will get into what happened there, that the wedding, that this is going to be the Game of Thrones red wedding, but it's going to be the Handmaid's Tale version of it. All the high commanders are going to be there. It's going to be a huge show. Watching Rita get that suitcase of what looks like poison. Amazing. Like, I'm here for all of this. Let's have the Gilead Red wedding. It is time.
It is time.
And take Nick with you. Listen, guys, I am backing out the door of my, love of the relationship of Nick and June. I'm not necessarily Team Luke either at this point, but I am definitely not Team Nick. I just feel like after what happened, I know he probably felt like, oh, there's not going to be those types of consequences for the women at Jezebel's, but he knows what type of environment he's living in, that there's nobody else to punish except them. It was so grim and so awful what he's done. They have straight made Nick a villain. So anybody out there who was rooting for them, I just feel like now Nick is truly straight villain. And he may have been a villain this whole time. And I was like, I see what they're going through together. And I really wanted to see it. But he's just a villain.
I think Nick is a coward. I think Nick.
He's a coward.
He just.
Clap if you think Nick should suffer.
Okay, yeah, really, I just feel like he's put himself in this position where I understand that things are complicated with him because of Rose, because of everything that's going on there. But at a certain point, you have to make a stand if you want a better future. And I even, I'm not saying I agreed with what a lot of people were saying, but I understood what a lot of people were saying last week, where it felt like, okay, his back was up against the wall. He didn't know that he was going to be confronted like that. He had to say something. But I just feel like his reaction and response to everything in this episode, when it feels like he could have tried to do something to help a little bit more, I'm gonna put on my English major high vocabulary hat here for a moment. This was pretty feckless of you, Nick, to just sort of sit back, not really do all that much of anything, not really give June much of an explanation, just be sort of like, oh well. And I know you didn't say oh well, but that was my feeling watching you. I know I've always been Team Luke, and I know that I've always been a little bit biased, but I never wanted to believe that Nick was this, where Nick was not really going to be able to do anything, or rather that he wasn't willing to do anything.
Nick can eat a bag of grass. I'm so out on him. I know that he was like, oh, I didn't know that Wharton would do that. Yeah, you did. But like, what did you think was going to happen to the women at Jezebel's? If that didn't happen to them, they were going to end up in the colonies, which is the same. They're going to end up in a place where they just can't survive. Like, they were the only people that were going to end up getting punished. They're not going to be able to punish Mayday. Mayday's not there. So who's going to end up getting it? These women.
It felt like we were sort of watching a series of people who just wanted to ostrich themselves in the sand, because June,
Yes.
I think for a while with Nick, has ostriched herself and sort of made herself feel like, okay, he really does care about me. And because he cares about me, that means he's going to care about the stuff that I care about, which hasn't turned out to be the case here at all. And I think because Nick does not view himself as full mustache twirling villain, I think he is sort of thinking that other people, even other commanders in Gilead, despite what he has seen and known, aren't going to be as extreme as they are either. And they both just allowed their ignorance to sort of take over them. And I don't think either one of them are ignorant people. It's just that when you're in certain situations, you kind of want to make yourself feel blind to the reality of the world.
Mhm.
And it's all kind of escalated to this point.
Yeah.
We have so much more to get into, though, including the much more exciting story about the plan for what's going to be happening at this wedding. Before we go forward, though, be sure to hit that subscribe button because, yeah, we have a lot more coverage coming of The Handmaid's Tale, including reviews, previews, theories, all sorts of good stuff. We are also in the midst of covering The Last of Us Season 2. And beyond that, Poker Face is starting
Mhm.
this week. Great whodunit mystery show, Natasha Lyonne. There's great guest stars almost every single episode. It's just a great time, and we want you guys to have a great time with us with the coverage of that show.
We also have coming up Nine Perfect Strangers. That's going to be coming up very, very soon in just a couple of weeks. And also over on our Patreon exclusively, we are covering over there Criminal Minds Evolution Season 3, as well as Murderbot. So if you want to check out those reviews, join our Patreon. We'll have a link for you below. And thank you so much to everyone who is supporting us over there.
Thank you guys. We really, really appreciate that.
Okay, so that was a really intense scene, sort of going back and forth between Nick and June, and no real explanation. Just, oh, I didn't think
Yeah.
it would go that far. But don't worry, Janine's okay. But these other women, oh well. It's just like, Nick, I can't get behind this. It's so bad. And obviously June can't either. And watching that whole scene play out the way that it did when Janine was pulled from the lineup and all the women were killed in the washroom the way that they were, it was so grim, so brutal. It was just so incredibly difficult to watch. As soon as I saw Janine pulled out of that lineup, I was like, oh no, she's going to be taken by Belle. I had been kind of wondering if she was going to be taken by Belle anyways. That's kind of his property. He feels like he owns her. That's his woman on the side. I was like, oh, he's going to find a way to make her either a handmaid or just lock her up in the basement. Like, I didn't know how bad it was going to get, but I felt like he was going to save her. So awful.
Yeah, I think
Nick is trash.
Okay, yeah, Nick is trash, and this whole story just made me so even more mad at him.
I hope you enjoy your cake. I assume he's going to be at the wedding.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to be at the wedding.
He's the son-in-law.
I just felt okay. Here's part of what I was going through while I was watching all of this is that I was trying to keep in mind a lot of the quotes that a lot of the cast has given leading up to this season, sort of suggesting there might be some element of hope coming, that maybe not everything is going to be completely bleak. Like, we obviously have not read the source material. We haven't read the testaments. Please, no spoilers in the comments. But it just felt like, okay, maybe we are going to be moving to something more positive. And I think because I was watching through that lens, I snowed myself into thinking that we weren't going to see anything on screen as brutal as what happened at Jezebel's. Even when I knew that something bad was coming, I don't know why. Maybe it's my own ignorance. I just sort of thought, okay, maybe they're just going to do all that off screen and then we'll just hear about it. But to see it actually play out on screen, that was really, really tough. And yeah, like with you, the moment that it became clear that Janine was not going to die in that moment, like the only person who was going to quote unquote save her was of course going to be Belle, one of the worst people in the world of The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, I mean, seeing Lydia going through this as well, where she shows back up at Jezebel, she sees all the gunshots, blood everywhere. She knows what's happened. She's worried, of course, that Janine is one of those people. Finds out, no, Janine has been saved and has been chosen as a handmaid to be over at Belle's house. At first, she's overjoyed because she's like, oh, great. We're going to have Janina's alive. She's going to be here. She's going to be in as service. This is going to be okay until she gets over there and she realizes that it is not what she thought that it was. That Belle's like, oh yeah, our handmaid's not going to be able to go to this wedding. She is not in good enough shape to be able to be publicly viewed. I was like, oh my God, what has Belle done to her? And then to see her black and blue up in the window, Lydia's face breaking, my face breaking, to see Belle's wife be the person to pull Janine away and know that she is contributing to the beatings and everything that's happening? I mean, it's not like we haven't seen that before. We saw Serena throw June into a wall once. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it does happen. But my biggest worry about her being at Belle's house is that his wife was going to know or see or figure out what had been going on between the two of them and take it out on Janine. And I think that is what is happening.
I'm about to do something that I never thought I would do in any video, and that is recreate the Topher Grace praying scene from Spider-Man 3, where he's sitting back and he's like, please, God, let me kill Peter Parker. Please, Bruce, Eric, everybody on The Handmaid's Tale.
Give him a whole big slice of cake.
Yes, please.
Wife as well. Everybody enjoy your cake. Please let this play out.
Please let Janine be the one to serve. I know Janine's not at the wedding. Can we get Janine to the wedding so that she
Yes.
can personally serve them the cake? I want Janine to kill these people. Janine needs justice. I want to see something big happen for her. She deserves. I feel so terrible for this character. Like, she's obviously gone through more than just about anybody in The Handmaid's Tale at this point. The idea that even after all of this at Jezebel's, that you're still going to torment her further, I just feel, it just makes me feel unsettled in my stomach.
Here's the thing. I don't know if anybody else is feeling this way about what's happening with Janine for 6 seasons. And I just feel exhausted with it. Like, it's just pain on top of pain on top
Yeah.
of pain every single season. This season, even more. Like, if she doesn't make it out of this with some sort of happy ending, I'm going to be really disappointed with the ending of this show. I feel like I can't really take any more. Janine can't take any more. It's enough. Like, pick another character to pick on. There's a lot of other characters that are here. Janine just, it needs to stop. It's enough. The audience is getting exhausted.
Yeah, I mean, experiencing stories like this, it's another reason why I do understand, because Samira was doing some interviews leading up to this season, and she was basically like, she's not going to do the testaments because she's done with the trauma. And it's just sort of like,
Yes.
okay, yeah, I definitely get it. I am about to flip-flop on one of my major positions for the entire season, which I have flip-flopped many a time, but here's the thing. Janine is not going to die on The Handmaid's Tale anymore. I have sat here and said this for a month now. It just feels like if you're going to do this to this character, if you kill her off now, unless it is the most heroic death known to mankind, it's like, how in the world is anybody going to be happy with it? Because this is worse than death, what she's going through now.
Yeah, I feel like this show, yes, it's bleak, yes, it's grim, but has a little bit of hope to it as well. I just feel like, unless, yeah, she's going out as a hero and can have peace in death, she needs to have some sort of a peace. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be very hard for me leaving this show, going into Testaments, if I know that they're willing to just be like, well, this is a grim world, bad
Yeah.
things happen. Yeah, they happen to everybody, including Janine. It's like, there needs to be a little bit of hope. Like, it can't just be bleak on top of bleak. You have to give something, or otherwise we're just watching seasons and seasons of Requiem for a Dream, which is like easily the most bleak movie I've ever seen, that ends bleakly. That by the time I got out of it, I was like, yeah, great movie, but I'll never watch it again. It's just complete misery. And I don't want to walk out of The Handmaid's Tale feeling the same thing. The Walking Dead really did a really good job with this, where it was like, yeah, it was really bleak and there was a lot of terrible things that were happening, but there was also hope. So by the time you were kind of coming around the end, the parts that were hopeful is what you're walking away from, so that you are willing to sit through, seasons of Daryl Dixon and Dead City.
I feel like they're going to give Janine something. Like, I legitimately do at this point, mostly because, they got to know this is a bleak world. They've told us, they've shown us for years that this is a bleak world. So it's like, okay, I'm fine to sort of stir things up a little bit and give people a little bit of something to cling to. And here's what I'm clinging to right now when it comes to Janine, is that June and Moira do seem like they're going to try to do something to help her here. Not everything is lost.
Yeah. Okay. So with June, feeling and grieving through what happened with Nick, I'm really glad that we actually saw this. So we saw, her reaction, of course, to when this first happened. She felt really betrayed. We saw later where Luke was calling it out and being like, yeah, you've been pining away over this guy for years. Like, we are together, we are married. How do you think it makes me feel that this is going on? And her actually having that scene where she is just actually grieving the loss of that relationship. We've seen grief through death many times on many different shows. It's something that we're all familiar with, but we don't typically get to see the grief of the loss of a relationship, the loss of love, where both people are still alive, but that relationship is done. And it is like grieving a death, losing love, realizing the person that you were with is you are no longer going to be with, that they are not the person you thought that they were. It is very rare to see that on TV. So I really appreciate that The Handmaid's Tale took the time to have her grieve the loss of that love.
Yeah, and I think we also saw it manifest itself in a few different interesting ways. I mean, we have this conversation with Luke where Luke just continues to sort of show, his humanity, which I kind of feel like a lot of that scene with him and her where, he's sort of explaining in some ways, maybe I shouldn't want to be with you, but, here I am. But I think he really understood and recognized that that entire conversation wasn't really about him. It was mostly about this idea that June just felt this complete betrayal. And while he was understandably upset about the fact that she had told this information to somebody who clearly he knew should not be trusted,
Mhm.
he sort of took a step back, sort of understood the trauma that they were going through, and sort of felt like, okay, it's not going to help anything if I just start yelling at her or if I storm out of this situation. I think he is a very mature, understanding, interesting character. This is why Luke is one of my favorite people on this show, is that I think he has never really had much in the way of blinders on when it comes to anything. I think he's wanted certain things when it comes to himself and June, but I think he's also understood that his relationship with June is different from what it was before all of this started, and nothing is really going to change that.
But it does feel like they've turned a corner and that things are different now. Like, June feels, she's saying she's lost this one love. She feels like she's losing this second love as well. And her sort of asking that question, if Hannah wasn't part of this situation, like, would we even still be together anymore? And Luke says yes. It's not just about that we're both trying to get our daughter back. There is more to us than that. And there will continue to be more to us than that. We are not just defined by being parents. We're not just together because we are fighting to get Hannah back. It's not like once we get her back, we're just going to go our separate ways. There is more here.
He is just a unbelievably caring and settled person who has kind of gotten a sense of, okay, this is who I am, this is what I want, but this is also what I'm willing to do in order to make it happen. And I think he is very well aware of the fact that he could die in the midst of all of this and never have any of that. But I think, unlike, and I'm not trying to just turn this into a Nick bashing session, I promise, but unlike Nick, who is just cowardly trying to toe a line because he doesn't want anything to happen to him, I think Luke is willing at this point to lay it all on the line, no matter what goes on. He's going to be there for it. And obviously, I am worried that Luke is going to die. I feel more hopeful about Janine, but I'm very worried about Luke. But I think if Luke goes, he's honestly going to be okay with it.
Seeing Lauren show up at Mayday, that made me smile. Talking about people who are
Mhm.
doing their finest to not die in Gilead. I
Yeah.
mean, Nick, I understand, is trying to make sure that he doesn't die, but he's willing to let a lot of other people die for his one life. Lawrence, he's no angel either. And seeing him actually show up at Mayday and give June that talking to, obviously he has his own motivation. He doesn't want to die. So he's there to be like, yeah, let's do this so I don't die. Same situation here where it's like, yeah, we'll kill a bunch of other people so that I can live. You can can do this, June. You know, all the handmaids, they need you. All of it works, of course. We knew that June wasn't going to give up, but
Yeah.
the minute that she's kind of figuring out that like handmaids are going to be there, and you know that maybe they can go there as handmaids and figure it all out, I was like, yes, okay, so we're going to see her back as a handmaid again, to see her back there, hopefully to have revenge, my favorite thing in the world. This is it. This is a Gilead Red wedding. Seeing Rita open that case, because she's going to be making the wedding cake, where Serena's like, oh yes, we're going to have this huge wedding now. We're going to have a part of Gilead. Everybody's going to be there. Rita, you're going to make the cake. Oh yeah, I'll make you a cake. It opens up that case. It's just filled with this like white, I don't know, liquid powder, whatever is going on there. It's not good.
No.
Everyone is going to die. That's my hope.
That's my hope. This is
Here we are hoping. Let's clap for death.
How dark has this video gotten 20 minutes in?
Listen, all those commanders can go, all of them. Lawrence, you eat cake too.
Okay, Lawrence,
Nick, enjoy your cake too.
Lawrence, you need to at least finish the job here before you have your cake.
And feed it to all them wives too.
Okay.
Watching that whole scene with Serena,
Yeah.
trying to be like, oh, New Bethlehem, there's no handmaids over here. You know, things are different. Fertility clinics. And these wives are so just like brainwashed.
Yes.
They just can't get past anything. Oh, my husband says. Oh,
No.
my husband says. Well, what do you think? Oh, I don't think anything.
No.
My husband says.
They've all just been made in like automatrons, like, you know, the robotic figures you see when you wander around Disney World or something like that. Obviously, the worst version of it. But I will at least give you this, Commander Lawrence. I'll give you a gold star before you die. And your gold star is just that you managed to give June like even the tiniest amount of hope, whether it is about the plan, Janine, or like whatever else. It's just for so long, June has been the one with you where she has sort of pleaded with you and tried to implore that you do something different because she realizes that you're not exactly like every other commander out there. Look at you inspiring the tiniest amount of hope, even if it is for the most selfish reason of all time. We are having to resort to those extremes on The Handmaid's Tale, where Lawrence is no saint. Lawrence is also a coward. But you know what? If his primary MO is, I don't want to die, take advantage of that. Do whatever you can to use him for your own future.
Absolutely. Do what you can. Lawrence is out there trying to get Lydia out of the picture because they have someone on the inside as one of the aunts to be able to sort of deal with this and get all the handmaids on board. Hopefully, I would assume, be able to get June in there, get Moira in there. Lawrence, do your best. You're the best of the worst, but you know, you've still done your things as well.
All right, so since you mentioned one of the other aunts, it's time to introduce part 2 of the talking about people who are famous from other TV shows and not remembering their character names, so ending up just calling them by their original character names. We know Commander Bell now, so Commander Jonah Ryan is not as fun, but Aunt Janet from The Good Place is very, very fun. I love Darcy Carden. I am thrilled that she is here, even if this is clearly a very, very brief role. And how ironic is it that Aunt Janet over on The Handmaid's Tale is also working to give people what they want?
Absolutely. I loved her also on The Good Place. She's great.
Yeah, I don't know exactly still all of the finer details about how this plan is going to come together, how it's all going to work. But I just like going into the next episode, the idea of, okay, we at least have a plan. Like even with the Jezebel's operation, I was excited, but it also felt like it was too early in the season for anything to really work out. So I never really let myself get too excited.
Yeah, it was just getting too messy.
I'm getting too excited now entering this wedding. It's just because this has been the moment we have all been leading up to. Serena's got herself like worked up to be fully delusional again. It's just now is the time.
No, Serena's completely delusional about this Gilead Red wedding. She's just trying cakes, you know, getting ready for her wedding, the invite list. Let's make it big. Let's put on a show. I just feel like with Wharton, I have just felt like he's a villain, that he is going to just pull the rug out from underneath her. I'd really been kind of fence sitting for a while where it's like, maybe he's secretly part of everything in Mayday. I don't think so. I just feel like everything with New Bethlehem, that he has to know what all the other high commanders know, which is
Yeah.
that Lawrence was going to be the patsy for all of this. New Bethlehem is just bringing people in, having Serena as his wife. It's just going to make everything look better. And look, the person who helped create this is now my wife. I'm just waiting for, like, okay, everybody bet.
Yeah.
How long after they say I do is the mask gonna fall off Wharton, where he's like, by the way, New Bethlehem, it's no more. Like, whatever he's gonna do, that it's all gonna happen.
I
Wedding night, next day, a week. How long do you think he's until?
I don't have a lot of faith in this dude. I think it's going to be wedding night, if not
Oh
earlier
my
than
God.
that. I think it's just going to be whenever he's actually like alone with her again. Like, I don't think he's going to like stand up at the ceremony and be like, New
No.
Bethlehem is dead. But I think he
Well,
is.
she's already said I do,
Yeah.
so.
I just think he's going to want to put on a good face because this whole operation's about good PR, right? You want to get people back to New Bethlehem. So he's not going to do it, I think, in a way where that can get out there. But I think if it's in a way that's private with Serena, I think that's when it's going to be revealed. And then I think she's going to feel trapped and maybe she'll try to do something, maybe not. I just feel like Serena's reaction to all the wives just being robots kind of just made me feel like, okay, you're not really going to do anything. It's like you complained about it for a minute and then you just moved on and started planning your wedding again. Like you really didn't care that much.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a bit of an eye opener for Serena to just see how much the wives don't want to change and
Yeah.
won't change. Like, even when she's like, oh, we won't have handmaids here, we'll have fertility clinics here. And, the handmaids will then be able to be employed there to be able to help. Oh, I don't want to see my handmaid again. Just give me my baby and hit the bricks. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. So we knew that that's how they feel. But at the same time, how much they do not care
Yeah.
for the handmaids or the handmaid system or any of this. It's just give me my baby and move on.
Okay, here is the one thing I'm sort of struggling with at the moment. And logistically, maybe it makes sense that they haven't had a conversation yet. But if you are Commander Lawrence at this point, or should I say High Commander Lawrence, you are a fellow High Commander
Yeah.
with Wharton. You're obviously not on the side of the commanders anymore. At what point do you go to Serena and be like, by the way, everything you're trying to do here with New Bethlehem, it's never going to work. They're never going to let you do it. I heard X, Y, and Z. Do you trust her enough to have that conversation? I mean, if you
I
can't,
wouldn't.
it's tricky because it's like if you could get Serena on board, like, would that help you? I think so, but I understand where you're coming from because at this point you could also raise the question of, okay, do you really need Serena in order for this plan to go into effect? You don't. You've already got the baker of the cake here. Like you've already got everything else that you seemingly need in order to make this happen.
Serena's just too high on her own sauce. She just really believes herself and what's going on. She is not going to believe Lawrence over what Wharton has been doing. She has on love goggles. She just thinks that everything is going to be moving along. She doesn't want her whole life blown up. There's no way she would believe Lawrence over herself and what she thinks is going on. And, it's just, I just don't see Serena being any sort of help unless Serena is doing it for Serena. That is all we've seen throughout this whole thing. She's willing to help other people if it benefits Serena.
I think the real lesson that I'm kind of taking away, at least from this show right now, this season, is that the likes of June can inspire some people. Anytime you're a heroic figure, like you are going to get people behind you. Like, we even see people like Mark, Mark, who's had all of 10 minutes of screen time this season, be involved. So it's like, okay, she can impart some sort of goodness on hearts and minds, but there are always going to be people who aren't going to change, no matter how much you try. And Serena may just be that person, and we just have to sort of let that go. But it's also seeing her demise, and I do think whether it's death, whether it's imprisonment, no matter what happens to Serena, I do think she's going to get just desserts at some point.
Speaking of desserts, I mean, if that wedding cake actually is going to end up getting poisoned, and I hope that it will, I hope we're not going to go into the next episode and it's like, oh, the plan has been foiled and all that poison is gone. I've been building it up in my head to be like this huge Gilead red wedding. Serena's going to eat that cake. I mean, that's her wedding cake. Her and Wharton are going to eat that cake.
Okay,
Eat the old cake.
I'm just gonna preemptively ask this question because I'm gonna throw it back to Game of Thrones here also. What would be the most satisfying poisoning related death? Serena this way, or Joffrey, whose demise was celebrated to such
Also at a wedding.
yeah, I know. Like, Joffrey's demise was celebrated to such an extent that like Jack Gleason couldn't get work for years after the fact because everybody hated him.
Also at his own wedding. I would be fine with that. Let's go.
I think it would be. I'm really excited for what's going to be coming up next. It's just going to make the preview all the more interesting. But this episode really got the ball rolling in a way that makes us all very, very happy, even though at the same time we're obviously very, very sad about what's happening to Janine.
Yes.
All right. Well, let us know in the comments what you thought about this episode. Give us your theories on what is to come and hit that subscribe button for more coverage of The Handmaid's Tale reviews, previews, theories, and you can support us further by joining our Patreon. We've got a link in the description where you can go over there. We have exclusive video coverage coming there of Criminal Minds Evolution, in addition to Murderbot on Apple TV+. Thank you so much. We will see you here next time.